Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
On the 21st December, Arsenal gave to us 5 goals. Hello, welcome back to the Daily Palace Podcast, brought to your ears by the Global Sports Podcast Network. I'm Joe Lodge, and I've had a bit more time on my hands today, so I've been playing around with sound effects, as you can hear there. I am joined by Dan Tanner. How are you doing, Dan?
I was doing all right until I got a giant ear-splitting sound. I was not expecting a sound bar. But well done, I'll give it to you. That's I was doing much better until Saturday after. So
yeah. Well, that's what we're here to speak about today. Palace lost 5-1 at home to Arsenal. So we're going to chat about that before I give Dan another themed quiz for this, our final helping of Christmas podding. We're going to take a 3-day break for New Year, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then be back next Friday. So let's grab a match, unscrew our smoke detectors, and ignite this thing. Palace's unbeaten run came to a pretty spectacular end at Selhurst on Saturday. What went wrong, Dan?
pretty much everything went wrong from what I could tell. It's almost like they were already thinking about the Christmas party they were going to have, or the sort of afterwards, or the little mini Christmas break or whatever they're going to have. It's just like everything that we have moaned about that we've moaned about for the last few months literally is accumulated into one match. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. So, but it's even more irritating by the fact that we were playing really well, because at the beginning of this 3-week fixture list, we were all very, very hesitant of thinking we'll probably only get maybe 3 points against Ipswich and then the rest will lose. But when we get, I think, 7 points from 3 games or something like that, 2 wins and a draw against City, and then
draw of City, and then Brighton, And
I think we get absolutely mullered against Arsenal. Like, not even just. There's no other words of saying it. We just got completely mullered, and it's like I think the worst performance I've seen from Palace in quite a while. Just how badly it just went. When Declan Rice gets a goal, you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was. Obviously, it wasn't good. There's no good 5-1. I don't think it was maybe as bad as some of Palace's performances earlier in the season. I kind of more or less, surprise, agree with the verdict of Europa League winning professional manager Oliver Glasner, that kind of elements of the performance were okay. Palace sort of pressed quite well, weren't easy to play through, and created some really good chances of their own, some of them through that kind of high pressing in the game. So they carried a threat, made life difficult for us in some ways, kept Martin Odegaard quiet, which I think I said before the game, if Palace can keep Martin Odegaard quiet, they might be able to get something out of the game. They did keep him quiet and yet considered 5 regardless.
And yet we got absolutely chance. Yes.
Yeah. The big issue was just Palace defended their box really, really badly in the game, and pretty much in some way or other, all 5 of Arsenal's goals are from crosses or cutbacks across a box that was just flooded with red shirts, usually none of whom seemed to be picked up by Palace players. It was one of those that you can read too much into XG statistics, obviously. I think that was it's 1.59 to Palace versus 2.87 for Arsenal, which is maybe a bit the other way, that's sort of too complimentary to Palace. But I feel like that's maybe a bit of a better reflection. Something like a 3-1 where Arsenal don't take all their big chances or something like that would maybe have been a kind of a fairer result, better reflection of the balance of the play, and they were pretty ruthless on the day. And yeah, Palace had really one big issue rather than lots of huge structural problems, I felt, on the day. But yeah, certainly not a good performance to get everyone in the festive mood. Did any Palace players do particularly well in the game, Dan? Is there anyone you thought covered themselves in glory?
I think sort of Sarr did fairly well, not just for getting the goal, but he actually managed to be a bit of a nuisance to them up front. Mateta got a couple of decent attempts off as well, made his presence known. Because if you'll have a look at the stats, it was fairly even. The only difference was Arsenal actually took their chances and actually got them. We kind of didn't. We come up against sort of the Arsenal goalie who just decided, right, I'm going to make life difficult for you. But yeah, those are the only ones that really stuck out for me. The rest of them just seem to have been kind of bullied and pushed around, especially in the defence. Made it far too easy for them. Leaving players wide open, especially Jesus, who'd already scored a hat-trick against us 2 days earlier. So it's like, you might want to pay attention to this guy. Don't leave him wide open.
Yeah, expect that guy to be banging him in till Good Friday now.
Yeah, but yeah, say this. It wasn't like we've had losses this season, but we haven't been completely and utterly taken apart, which is more frustrating for me. Just how easily it was, because we've lost most of the games. We've both have been 1-0, like either sort of some point in the late of the half or something like that. But this one was just almost dismantling from very, very early on, and it just kept going. Like there was no not quite. I wouldn't say fight back, but there just was no real response to it. So that's kind of where I'm seeing it at the moment. It was just bad all around. It doesn't help that I've got a couple of good mates that are Arsenal fans. Having a good dig at my expense for a couple of days.
Well, I think on the topic of good performances, it's Christmas. I'm all about Christmas, the time of year to make sure all your boys know you appreciate them, not just the ones you usually praise. So I'm going to take the opportunity to praise Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Shock, horror.
I'll be doing
that
like every time I mention Jean-Philippe Mateta. Nice boom sound effect for you there. I do actually think, as you say, him and Sarr were the only ones who can really come out in credit. They played quite well, created their own chances to a certain extent with the pressing from the front. Mateta, it wasn't his most dangerous game in the box in front of goal, but his link up was really good on the day. Dropping deep. There was one moment where I think he takes it on his chest and then as it drops kind of flicks it over his left shoulder into Sarr's path. That was really nice. Had a Jamie Carragher absolutely purring. And yeah, Sarr did really well again. Sharp, good decision making mostly. There's maybe one moment where he passes the ball to Mateta after they kind of pressed. Was it Partey after a bad Raya hospital pass to him? And then, long story short, he released the ball a little late, probably for Mateta to be able to get a good shot off. But other than that, good decision making in the box, took up good positions, looked sharp, and his goal was great. So it's like it's Robin-esque. He backs off Saliba, who probably should do better, but still, backing off Saliba is not easy. He's one of the best centre-backs in the world. And yeah, backs him off, and then curls it into the far corner. Taking from the left, which is interesting. You kind of wonder if that's an avenue for Palace to explore if there are any more Eze absences and stuff like that, because he did look dangerous taking up that position, cutting in on his right foot rather than running onto it as normal. Was there anyone else? I mean, I think Hughes had another okay game. I don't think he was too bad. His passing was pretty tidy and sort of progressive at times. I think he did all right. And you can't praise any of the defence really, but there were still, it's not really a performance you can praise. There was another one where you can see there really is a lot of quality in Maxence Lacroix as a centre back. He again is as culpable as any of them of not taking up good positions from those crosses and make it too easy for Arsenal. But he had some really nice moments on the ball, little dummies to free himself up to drive forward, some nice long passes, and that recovery challenge when he admits to his rectifying his own mistake, but looks like he's let Jesus in and sort of sprints back really calmly, just hooks his foot round, gets a toe in. That was really impressive. So there are flashes of quality from him, but yeah, you don't want flashes of quality from a centre back. You want consistency, and yeah, none of them can be said to have been really switched on in that game. But we'll have a little pause for a word from a sponsor now, and continue our discussion of the game afterwards.
Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
So Arsenal played a surprising kind of all-out attack lineup, the way they haven't been doing since kind of, I guess, the early parts of last season, by starting Odegaard, Havertz, Martinelli, Jesus and Saka all together. Do you think that sort of caught Palace off guard and helped cause any of the problems, Dan?
I wouldn't have thought it would have taken them off guard, because it's like the first time those guys have all been like properly fit all at the same time, and now Arsenal are trying to close the gap on Liverpool a bit more, because as City have started to drop points, they're going to try and take full advantage before their almost inevitable slow down in March, February kind of time. You know, Arsenal always does that at some point. So I don't think it caught them really off guard, because it is their sort of strongest team. I just think they got caught off guard of sort of some of the movement of them, especially Jesus, who hasn't played regularly for quite a while. Kai Havertz can kind of switch it on when he wants to. He is a world-class sort of player that can play in multiple different sort of positions, very sort of technically gifted, but it's whether he can be bothered to show up or not is always the problem with that. Sometimes you just feel like he just doesn't want to be there, and he'll just sort of mope around a little bit, do his thing, and then never really do anything. But
I'm not sure how much he did show up in this. He nonchalantly stroked one in unmarked.
Exactly.
And didn't do a whole lot otherwise.
But he'll still take it. But he's still a threat regardless. Odegaard, a top quality playmaker. I think I singled him out as well in the 2 or 3 times I was talking about Arsenal last week. So I think we both were on the same wavelength there. And Saka, if he probably played longer than about 20 minutes instead of getting injured, he might have been a lot more of a threat, but we didn't really get to see much of him. But that didn't make a blind bit of difference, as they still conceded 5. So, well,
I think it was a good time for Arteta to use that kind of system, because I think Palace kind of accept they're never going to really dominate the midfield to a certain extent, particularly if Eze out. You've got Hughes and Lerma as the two who are really there to disrupt the opposition's midfield more than control the game in that area. It's not really the game plan. I think Arteta identified that they can just cram in loads of talented attacking players, because they don't need so much steel through the middle against Palace as they might against other teams. And it sort of paid dividends, as you say, because it meant they had a load of players on the pitch that are really intelligent with their attacking positioning, can find little spaces in the box, follow up shots quickly, things like that, and that was pretty much the root of most of Arsenal's goals. But that said, maybe a couple of really sharp movement and clever positioning from Arsenal that's hard to pick up. Most of them, it's not like they're doing anything that intricate, like one's darting to the near post while another one steals in behind me. It's basically like they're in very normal attacking positions, and there are Palace bodies sort of near enough to them that they could be picking them up and getting close to them and making things a lot more difficult, and they're just not. I think it was kind of a real lapse of concentration defensively from the Palace back three. It just seemed like they weren't quite organised on it, or back five. But it's not all the three centre backs' fault, but just generally no one was really picking up their men. It seemed like, and it was slightly troubling in that sense. But that's not been a theme. It's not been a theme all season for Palace. So particularly in recent weeks, been pretty good. So you'd hope it's more of a blip. I guess we'll see as weeks go on. Probably most notable change for the starting lineup for this game, or unenforced change, that is, because Eze didn't play due to injury. But Shalaba was dropped in favour of Chris Richards. How do you think that experiment went, Dan? Would you like to see Chris Mass or Manos?
I would prefer kind of like having a bit of somewhat rotation, so we don't have the same three at the back all the time. But I just want to, why would you take out Shalaba, who's had at least the last few games really good form, and sort of that back three was starting to link up, and then you go and put in Richards, who hasn't played properly in a while, and put him in and just sort of against Arsenal. I don't know why you do that, especially in a game where we kind of still need to kind of win, or at least put on a decent performance. I would have thought you would do that a bit more in the League Cup game, where it's a little less important if we go out or not. So, but we'll see. I'm always for a bit of rotation, because we can't be having the same three all the time. But I'm very questioning why take out Shalaba when he's on form, and especially as far as I know, there's no niggle or injury to him. So very slightly odd decision making, but I'm not the one getting paid to make those decisions. So
not yet.
Not yet.
One day,
end of the year maybe. I'll put my application.
Parrish starts listening to this.
Yeah, if they start listening, I am free and I am available. There is a exorbitant sum that comes with it. I am available.
There's no buyout clause. I think that Chris Richards is like it was a bit of a strange decision. You wonder if, as you suggest, like maybe there was a little fitness concern or something with Chalobah that we don't know about. It did seem a bit of a strange time to bring him back in. It's good to get the minutes in his legs. As you say, he'll be important for Palace. They do need to rotate a bit. You can't play the same team every week. And he seems he's a pretty versatile, capable defender. He didn't cover himself in glory. Equally, I don't think he played remarkably worse than any of the other defenders on the day. It was just all disarray. I think he gets beaten, I guess, fairly easily by Saka when he's somehow ended up out in left back for Arsenal's first goal. Other than that, you probably wouldn't say he's particularly the person most culpable for any of the goals. So I don't think it was a bad performance from him, but it won't be. Chalobah will be able to chill over Christmas. I think he won't be too worried about the threat to his role as the first choice right centre back. Just to sort of wrap up discussion of the game then, Dan, do you think this speaks to maybe the recurrence of re-emergence of bigger issues that make you worry about Bournemouth, or can Palace just chalk it off as a bad day and lock back into the sort of system and form that saw them go 8 unbeaten leading up to this?
I want them to see this as just a bad day, because it is it is a bad result, sure, but it is against one of the best clubs in the league. So, and we just happened to catch them when they were in their own little mini crisis of a couple of games we're not really performing, and we just happened to get them when they're angry. So, but we've had some good performances up until then. And as I said earlier, most of the losses we had were only like 1-0. So we haven't been playing particularly badly. It's just, I think, we need to chalk this up as a bad result and basically refocus for Bournemouth, who aren't pushovers. They've been doing surprisingly well for this season. So, and then we've got Southampton, which has got to be considered as almost like a 6-pointer at this point. How badly they're going, that we need to definitely get 3 points off of them. So, but at least we've gotten through the nightmare before Christmas, and now we can look forward to the dream bit, the nice little bit before we have to play Chelsea again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's good. That's a nice place to wrap that up. It's a shame, isn't it, that Southampton couldn't hold on to Russell Martin just a little longer. I think Palace would have fancied playing that team in complete disarray. But yeah, I think Palace can still be fairly confident. I think it was a little bit of a case of almost gaining too much confidence from the run they've been on and trying to be a bit more proactive and attacking in the wrong game, and just take a step back, go back to the slightly more conservatively edging towards playing a bit more attackingly again, getting some points back on the board. I think Palace will be fine. I think they will be fine. But we'll have a quick word from the network now and then jump into a Christmas quiz.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day.
Nothing says Christmas like an unhinged gloved giant screaming "Switch on" at his family on the 25th of December. We're a short family, but we also get one in for the day. So I'm thinking, let's have a keeper quiz. So Dan, it's time to play Christmas number ones.
Yeah.
I've got 3 questions for you.
All right.
3 questions for you about old Palace keepers, or what about current Palace keeper. If you get all 3, Remy Matthews has promised to clean your sheets until the new year. So yeah, we'll dive straight into it. I think we've got multiple choice for all of them. No complicated rules to explain. So we can just go straight off the bat. So, question 1. Which of these is not a real Guinness World Record that is held by Dean Henderson? So he holds 2 Guinness World Records. One of these is not one that he holds. So there's the one that he doesn't hold. A, fastest time to get dressed as a goalkeeper. B, fastest time to clear a board of hungry hippos to eat all the little balls that they put in the middle with the hippos. Or C, most consecutive headed passes as part of a pair. Which one of those is not a world record held by Dean Henderson?
World record. So got the choices of dressing fast,
getting dressed fast as a keeper,
hungry hippos,
yeah,
or headed passes. What is this in the warm up kind of thing? Them going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an official, record attempt.
Oh, okay.
Or would be an official record attempt.
I'm just going to get in my mind of what is actually being said here. I would one that is not. I think probably dress fastest as a goalkeeper is not.
Dress fastest as a goalkeeper is actually a record held by Dean Henderson, or at least it was held by him. I've not checked if anyone's tried to steal that crown. It was something like 49 seconds, which it's one of those times you think it's impressive, but maybe no one else had attempted that record before.
Why are you recording
I don't
the
really
time?
think it's that impressive. Yeah.
Somebody was bored in the changing room one summer, wasn't there? Right, let's go. Let's see how long it takes you to do this. There was a bet on in the bar one night or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. It is the one that he doesn't hold is the fastest time to clear a board on Hungry Hungry Hippos, but that was held by Ipswich centre-back Axel Tuanzebe, although it's since been beaten. It might have been part of the same, maybe it was when they're both at United, there was like a whole push. I've not checked that.
Whole thing,
if it's part of the same
now you can see where they're going wrong up there now. Yeah. They're not playing Hungry Hungry Hippos in the changing room. That's why they're going wrong.
Or they're still trying to break this one record.
They're still trying to do it, yeah.
Most goals conceded against Bournemouth. Next question. Marina Speroni, wife and childhood sweetheart of Palace legend Julian, is an artist who operates an online shop. Which of these is not an item that you can buy from that shop? Is it A, a painting of the two neighbouring grounds of Dundee and Dundee United? B, a mug depicting Winston Churchill as an alpaca? C, a mug depicting Marilyn Monroe as an alpaca? D, a mug depicting Elvis Presley as a giant tortoise? Or E, a painting of Led Zeppelin ace Jimmy Page shredding his double guitar in the 1970s? So which one of those is not a real item?
Not that you can buy from
Marina Speroni's art shop.
I would probably think it's probably Marilyn Monroe mug. I would think, but these are still like wild guesses because I know like Speroni came from Dundee. That's where we got him from, so I'm not unsurprised by something like that. And so
good.
And one or two of the sort of the being Argentinian, let's have a little bit of a pop at some British pop culture and stuff like that.
I'm not sure it's a pop.
But maybe a little bit, just sort of...
Could be complimentary. An alpaca's a friendly animal.
I probably would think Marilyn Monroe as an alpaca is not something you can... But this is total guess.
Unfortunately for you, Dan, you can get both Winston Churchill and Marilyn Monroe as alpacas at Marina Speroni's shop. You can't get Elvis as a giant tortoise. She hasn't done that one yet. But yeah, so it is a mad art shop.
I was in the ballpark with the wrong one.
Yeah, I think you were getting on the right lines. But it was alpacas are a constant theme. She's yet to depict Julian Speroni as an alpaca, as far as I can see, or any of the gaffers. Neil Warnock, the alpaca, and like I would buy that mug if she's listening. I would buy that, Marina. Okay, third and final question. 108 cap Hungarian keeper Gabor Kurali became a cult hero everywhere he played, including Palace. Why, though, according to his Wikipedia, was he forced off in a League Cup game against Hartlepool in his first season at the club? Why was he forced off early? Was it A, that he needed the toilet? B, that it was announced on the tannoy that his car was about to be towed after he parked illegally outside the ground? C, that his signature grey tracksuit bottoms ripped and the shorts they had in reserve provided insufficient warmth for his legs? D, that he was scared of Hartlepool's mascot, Hangus the monkey? Or E, that he got wind of the fact that the local JJB were having a fire sale on all Lonsdale clothing? But he couldn't miss it and had to go. Which one of those is the reason that Gabor was withdrawn early?
There are some really weird explanations of why he did stuff, but I know the trousers was because basically his legs got cold, and it was a little bit of a lucky omen or something like that. So he did it from like a childhood or something. I seem to remember once he went off because he needed the look. I seem to remember that once, but that may have been a friendly game. I'm not sure, but they're all all mad stuff. He was a very, very crazy guy. So still is. So I think it's.
I'm sure it hasn't changed.
I don't think it's changed all that much. Goalies are a different breed. So I'm going to go that he needed the toilet. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, like could be a true answer of some other game. This one, it was that his grey tracksuit bottoms ripped, and that the shorts they had in reserve were insufficiently leg warming. Although I did have a scour around for match reports from the game, and I couldn't find any. So I'm slightly skeptical of where Wikipedia have sourced this from. It seems implausible that he'd actually refused to play on. Maybe he would. Maybe he would. He really did attach a lot of value to those trackies.
You're trusting Wikipedia here, yeah?
Yeah.
He's notorious for being about 50%
citation
wrong.
Needed. Yeah. I mean, he did say though, good luck, Omen, as you said.
I do seem to remember them being like a bit of a sort of sentimental, like good luck charm kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe he felt he just couldn't carry on. Well, if anyone was at the Hartlepool game where he went off early and would like to let us know whether that's the truth, that he actually did have to go off because his track is ripped and he wouldn't continue, that would be appreciated. Then we can reference it on Wikipedia and cement it as a fact in the Gabor Kurali law. I think that's all we have time for today. And in our final episode before Christmas. So thank you, Dan, for joining me today.
Yep, no worries. Wish you a Merry Christmas, you, Joe, and everybody else that's listening. So have a good one. Try not to have too much merriment. Do it in moderation. We're all cool. Just remember your family's not there just to annoy you. They are trying to...
Yeah, do your merriment responsibly. That's a good message. Merry Christmas to you as well, Dan. I hope it's a belter. I hope it's a belter to everyone listening at home. What we'd like more than anything else this Christmas is 5 gold stars for whatever delivery platform you listen to us on. That really helps. And look forward to chatting about the Bournemouth game on Boxing Day at the end of the week. And yeah, hope you'll join us there.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.